I'm really glad to be following Lauren because my talk is very much similar in terms of making the transition from thinking about things in one way to in terms of loving the ocean and protecting, thinking about the ocean in terms of exploring, then to conservation and actually doing something. The first time that I put on a mask and a snorkel and put my head underwater, I fell in love. I saw the ocean was so beautiful and it was so clear and it was teeming with life. And taking the next step to becoming a scuba diver was super easy. And we introduced our family and we started diving, and that's my daughter who graduated last year, and we started exploring the underwater world. Coral reefs are amazing. They do several things, in case you didn't know. They actually protect the coastlines from waves and storms. They filter gallons of water, and they also are home to about 25% of the world's biodiversity. And they're fascinating. One of these corals is a colony of millions of living animals. The one that looks like a plant is actually a colony of millions of animals. And we loved exploring all the different sea life, the fish, the turtles, the dolphins. Well, about 4 years ago, I started hearing about the discovery of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Captain Charles Moore wrote a book called Plastic Ocean, and he was one of the researchers who made this discovery of this plastic in our ocean about the size of Texas. But it didn't hit home for me for quite a while. Until about 2 years ago, I was diving in Roatan, Honduras, and I saw plastic coming out of the ocean. I saw plastic sort of floating at the top of the water, and I thought about the turtles and how they, think that a plastic bag is a jellyfish, and they eat those and they die. And I was in the Caymans 2 years ago in an island called Little Cayman, which was one of the out islands of the Cayman Islands. And the Cayman Islands are known for being the site of world-class wall diving. And I had come out of a dive, there's Little Cayman, it's one of the smaller islands, and I'd come out of this dive, it was so beautiful and so pristine, and I had seen stingray, but when I got towards the shore, I started seeing marine debris on the shoreline, plastic water bottles, plastic fishing line, plastic bottle caps. And I was a tourist, and I thought, well, gee, maybe the dive crew should do a better job of cleaning the beach. But it just didn't sit well with me to come out of this dive and then have to see that. So I got a plastic bag myself. I got out of the water and started cleaning the beach. And some of my diver buddies were kind of like, well, what is she doing? But then the next day, I did it again, and by the third day, some of my diver buddies were doing it with me. And now, beach cleanups are very common. There are annual beach cleanups on Little Cayman. And they're also, it's important because that's the downstream problem of plastics. But it's an upstream problem. If you go into a grocery store, for example, and you just look at the aisles, that's an ocean of plastic repeated thousands and thousands of grocery stores around the world. So I had another epiphany last year. I was in Cuba visiting family and bringing donations, thanks to many people who donated items to bring from Sandy Spring community to Cuba. I was in a beach outside of Havana, and I saw a different kind of plastic. I saw plastic cups, plastic food containers. I saw beer bottles, beer cans, just all over the beach while people were playing, even a few steps away from trash cans. And I had a huge aha moment because I realized that wasn't for me about exploring the ocean, conservation. There was actually a global public health issue because only a few feet away from the shoreline and from those waves, it only takes a couple of waves to bring that plastic into the ocean, is the germs and the bacteria on the things that we eat. And the bacteria gets into the ocean, and that's what causes beaches to be closed because of bacteria, algae to go pretty crazy, and there are red tides. So I thought to myself, now I understand this, I got to be able to do something. So just a simple thing, I was at work and I saw that we use these pens that had these plastic microbeads. And microbeads are really problematic because they can't be recycled. You can't pick them up on a beach. And they go through the water filtration system, and the fish and the sea life eat them thinking they're fish eggs. Well, we eat the fish, and we are consuming those plastic beads, and scientists are discovering a connection between birth defects and neurological problems. So it is a huge global public health issue. So I asked my firm, how many of these pens do we buy every year? They said, well, about 800 dozen. I said, wow, that's like 10,000 microbeads. And I said, well, do you think maybe we could use different pens? And they actually said yes. So because of that, I was given the Green Leader Award at my firm, and I'm really excited about that. So I want to leave you with two messages. One is, nothing is too small to notice. And number two is a quote from the renowned oceanographer and marine scientist, Dr. Sylvia Earle. And Dr. Earle says, the oceans are our life support system. Without blue, there is no green, and without green, there is no life. And so in order to preserve our planet and our life, we really have to take to heart that the future is not plastics. Thank you.